Welcome to the Town of Vesuvius Committee, the whole meeting, September 12th, 2023 at 9 a.m. in council chambers. First off, we will have the approval of the agenda, please. And are there any items? No, there is no. Thank you. We have the approval, please. Thank you, Councillor Butterworth and Councillor Bennett. All in favor. Thank you. And the committee of the whole minutes from August the 15th. Could we have those adopted, please? Motion. Councillor King, Councillor Chong, all in favor. Thank you. And first off, we have a staff report, the draft council code of conduct policy, and that's from Mrs. Hilton. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. As council is aware, this is a requirement of the community charter. Several months ago, council did pass a resolution that they were going to wait until a regional code of conduct had been looked at by the CAO who corporate officers. The RUS recently just adopted the code of conduct on Thursday. And now they have sent it to the member municipalities for their consideration. So administration is before council today with a draft code of conduct that has been vetted through the corporate officer group and the CAO group throughout the region. And so we're bringing it here for council comments and consideration prior to bringing it to a regular meeting.
Thank you. Can I just say a few things? The UDCM had the working group on responsible conduct that was done in a consultation with the Local Government Management Association. That is being looked at by the whole province. And when this came to the regional district board table, it was after we had a meeting with Reese Harding, who did a workshop in January on code of conduct, which was quite interesting. He's a lawyer and had talked about things that should be in it, and then things that probably shouldn't be in it, but there was a long list. So from my understanding, the regional district corporate officer plus the corporate officers from the 6 municipalities met and talked about this. And when it was brought up the other day, it was passed unanimously by the board members at the regional district. And I did suggest that when they said this will be sent back to the municipalities, I said everybody was involved in planning this, everybody in the regional district, so it was the municipalities and the corporate officer from the regional district. So I have a comfort level. Certainly it was passed at the regional district, and I have a comfort level with what is here now. So that's just from my point of view in the regional district. Anybody else want to have a say about what this is and whether this is something that you could support?
Yeah, I have full.
Yes.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I have full confidence. I was at the RDS when they reviewed this whole code of conduct, and like you said, everybody was definitely in favor of it. So on recommendation, I'd move option 2.
Option 2. That the committee of the whole recommend to administration to bring the council code of conduct policy to a regular open meeting of council for consideration of approval. So you're moving that option. Is there a seconder? And then we'll certainly have it open. Anybody else want to second that motion? No. Okay, thank you. Now, anybody have anything that they'd like to add or ask questions? Councillor John, did you know?
So to clarify, option 2 was that the committee.
I understand what you mean. So I think he means option 2, because I had option 2 in my recommendation.
Yeah, but
Option 2 at the bottom. So yeah, so to bring to a regular committee for council's consideration for approval.
it's quite lengthy and I think it covers. A lot of the issues that there might have run up. I certainly appreciate the fact that it's been looked at by the UBCM committee too, so I think they've covered just about everything. But it's been moved and seconded. Are you ready for the vote, or did you want to ask is there anything else? Okay, so all in favor? Thank you very much. So that was an important piece that we needed to, we were supposed to have done within 6 months, but we agreed to wait until we had a meeting with the rest of the RDOS people. Okay, the next one is the quarterly strategic priorities chart and infrastructure strategy. Mr. Risen.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is our, I guess, quarterly review. I indicated to council previously that we missed the July just because we didn't approve the previous one until about a month earlier, and also indicated that we're bringing forward with the budget deliberations, and we're entering into those. Thought I'd come forward just to see if there's anything that council wants to consider. Change, as some of this information is embedded into the budget deliberation. So council can make changes now, or obviously this is a document that's fluid, make changes after budget deliberations or make at our next quarterly update. So just for the viewers, these are two documents. One was a strategic priorities chart that council worked on right after they were elected, and it provides just an overview council's priorities and action items. And that was completed around January, or approved in January. And then there's an infrastructure strategy, which is more of a detailed document that assists administration in as we are replenishing assets or maintaining them. Gives us some guidance on what to include in some of our plans. So it's yeah, again, provides administration with some direction on what to consider as we're reviewing our assets. So basically open to council. Attachment 1 includes an update as to what was approved last quarter. It gives a bit of an update on each of the priorities where we are at. Attachment 3 is the strategic priorities chart that is up for debate. So it's basically a clean sheet, which includes scratching out the items that were completed, potentially adding some new ones into your priority chart. And so I would take this as whether we can do the comments on this council priorities chart on attachment 1 as far as questioning council's administration's action items and what was been completed, and or go to attachment 3 and debate what types of issues you'd like to include in the next council priorities. There's been a few items that have been crossed off the list. One thing I do want to indicate that it's not important to actually add more items to the council priority at this stage. As you're aware, administration is working on numerous objectives, and some of them are not included on this chart. There's lots of other business that goes on other than what's here. So I can indicate that we also need a little bit of a breather to get caught up in a lot of things. So we certainly appreciate knowing council's priorities, but just knowing that likely the next action date or the proposed action date would need to incorporate a lengthier timeline to respond just due to additional pressure. So having said that, I'll hand the
So I have a couple of, go ahead, Councillor King. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess, I don't know if this would be prudent to maybe look at this after our budget to see what priorities makes a little more sense than throw some up and then maybe have to reverse them. But this could this come back in like next month instead of waiting 3 months after our budget to review this? That would be my recommendation.
Yep, absolutely. This is a fluid document and it's your document, and you can make changes at any time. But if there's a motion to bring back in October, we can absolutely do that.
Okay, so is somebody,
I'll make that motion.
okay, thank you. So moved and seconded. Now I have a couple of questions or things that I highlighted on attachment 1. And I see that under planning and development, the parks strategy gyro charrette has been delayed. And I'm thinking that it is a possibility that it has been moved to January now. Is that what I'm seeing? I think I'm looking at both pages. Is that a better time to hold it?
Yeah, so your worship, thanks for bringing that up, and that is one item that's gonna be discussed this afternoon within council. We sent it out for RFP, that's correct, on gyro, and included in that RFP was also look at a few of the other things in some of our other parks, like. We get a lot of requests, like pickleball, Metal Art Park, all these parks are, and they're all kind of interchangeable and some have different facilities. Some have playgrounds, some not, so. As we have a lot of moving parts. And we wanted to incorporate again some of that into the focus of gyro, because we didn't want to potentially build something there when it's probably better over there. So the RFP was unsuccessful, and the comments back were that to do what we had put in the scope would the budget allotment would not do that. And it was $40,000. So in order to do a comprehensive review of all our parks, which then enable us to make decisions on a dog park there or pickleball there, or all these types of things, and make sure they're in harmony, is to do a complete parks master plan. And we've heard that to do that, it's closer to $100,000. So this afternoon, in front of council is a report that asks for your direction on whether to continue with just a gyro, specifically gyro charrette, or to be more of a comprehensive master plan. If we went with that, we require a budget adjustment from $40,000 to $100,000. Regardless, even if we were to go forward with charrette on just gyro, it would still probably be January-ish. If we do the more comprehensive, the date would be actually further out, because there'd be a lot more consultation in developing a parks master plan.
Thank you very much. Yes, it does. The other one is under community services, the childcare needs assessment. I thought that an RFP had been sent out for that one. Am I correct, or did we not get somebody to respond?
Good question, your worship. So that RFP closed and was part of my update this afternoon.
Oh,
and yes, it was awarded, and administration has already met preliminarily with the consultant. So that is supposed to commence as we speak, and it's comprehensive. It's going to be talking with some of the parents and the facility providers. So that is getting underway within
Good.
a couple of weeks here. So.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that. And the other one's the special event support policy. Is that is that a consideration to be moving that up? We don't seem to have anything else attached to it, any timelines, is that?
So right now within the existing strategic priorities chart, it's identified as an item that some work should be done on it. However, the capacity has not been there to address it. So it's there. We don't want to lose that. We know it's an important piece. So it's there. We also know that on the grant committee was met yesterday to talk about some of the parameters, potentially around some of the parameters that take a thing for recommendation to council, as well as budget requests. On top of that, within the budget documents, administration has identified several deficiencies that customers have requested additional support on, and some of them include communications, additional asset management planning, and one of them specifically related to this is to add additional resources available for nonprofits and some type of liaison. So that is included in the budget package. It is not incorporated into the financial numbers. It is a page within the document that indicates here we know some of the deficiencies we have within our organization. If council would like to support, I guess additional horsepower to one of those pieces or competencies, we can absolutely do that, but it would be an additional item that we have to add to the budget.
No, not a problem. I'm happy to hear what what's been reported. Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Gunn.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick question on the, when you talk about the Parks Master Plan, we're gonna talk about today. But if we do it as just gyro, then that gives a master plan for gyro for grants, but if we do it for the master plan and include all the parks. Then does that gives some more opportunities of other grants to come for other parks?
To your worship, thank you, Council Bennett. Yes, a lot of the grant applications ask for master plans, so you do get additional points in a lot of the applications when you have some of this information. I mean, it's a lot of, I know there's a lot of costs associated with doing these plans. You know, but there is a potential return on it. Plus, I think what's even more important is that we know that there's a high demand to do a lot of work within gyro, and I think the last thing we want to do is put something there that really is more suitable someplace else. And it's unfortunate the costs of these projects are significant. And so I think as we're investing in, you know, this infrastructure that's going to be there for a long time, it's pretty important to ensure that we're doing it right. And that we have a long-term plan, and at some point we can tell the public that, yeah, 3 years out, this is what we're gonna do. 5 years out, this is what we're gonna do. So having a long-term plan for all of our parks, I think is essential, not only from a financial responsibility perspective, but also from a communications perspective to our residents. That help?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I guess the only other thing is that I find in a lot of the stuff that comes back to us is coming to the people that are outside the community, come and tell us what they think we should have in town, like different parks and stuff. Instead of us telling them and then them bring it back to us. That's just my own comment.
So your worship,
You know,
well, I think it's I understand that point, and I've heard that several times. I mean, I think there's a couple of perspectives on it. First is, it has to go for RFP, so we have no choice to award it to the most qualified individual according to the point system. So we don't really have a choice on going in local or external. So that's just the legality piece. I think the important piece is, and all this is ensure that the term of reference that is all inclusive, and the most important piece is to get the feedback from the residents, and so it's critical for residents to provide feedback and to ensure that feedback is incorporated into the overall Parks Master Plan report. Definitely through the process, it's going to be important for this group, well, depending on which avenue we go, to report back to council, and you definitely then have the opportunity to question certain pieces of their findings. And maybe one positive from looking at, let's just say it is an external organization that's, you know, further away from just our community. Maybe if they have a lot of experience in this, they can bring some new ideas, just that we can, at least that you can consider. So just trying to put a little bit of a positive spin. We have a legal piece, we have the piece as far as process to ensure people participate and that it's incorporated in the document, and then hopefully they have a lot of experience in this to provide just some like new ideas that we may not have seen before, but it's something that's working in other communities. So I can appreciate your comments, and I think it's up to the community and the people around this table to ensure that those comments are captured and considered in the overall Parks Master Plan.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Chong.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think my concern with having more of an all-encompassing survey report would be if we identify multiple areas that need additional infrastructure investment. And judging by the timeline for the next 4 years, will we have the budget to upgrade everything or do we just focus on the other part and carve out a niche in terms of budget so we can do a good job in one spot?
Your worship, to Councillor Chong, I think definitely funding is going to be an issue. There's no question about that. One of the positives I think I see in this is that if you know that let's just say people want horseshoe. Let's just say that is a high demand that comes forward. Is it suited for gyro park? And so we're gathering information from the public as to what their needs and wants are, and ultimately then figure out where's the best location for it. I mean, we certainly like to put everything in gyro that people want. There's probably two issues with that, funding, as you've indicated, but also space. So knowing that that's a priority of your residents, maybe then you do shift your priority, but this is something that's really, 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 really important, but it just doesn't make sense to put it in gyro. Yeah, that will be a tough decision to make. Yes, we're gonna put it over there, we're gonna put it ahead of the improvements in gyro, but the intent of this is to see what the community wants, what are the desires, and ultimately coming back to council, knowing that there's going to be funds, set the priorities and where you'd like to put the investments. That kind of help.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. It's just the consideration of if we do a full encompassing survey and then we identify, 4 or 5 areas that need assistance as in addition to gyro, then we say, oh, well, we'll do that in 5 years. Then something changes in 5 years, you have to do another survey and report to assess those 4 or 5 areas. And it just seems redundant. Like it just, in my opinion, in the current budgetary state, just focus in one area and make every dollar as efficient as possible, but I think that's probably up for discussion later.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think no matter what we do, if we do a whole master plan, we should concentrate first on gyro, but you're quite right, the money is one of the. We should.
I go back to Counselor Bennett's comment. I know the consultants can bring outside ideas, but I reflect on 85th Street, how they come with basketballs made no sense in a park. Where we could go to the public first, maybe identify 5 parks and they put all the stuff up and then the consultants could decide where the best place for these items to go. Which would make sense, but trying to get input from public first before the consultant.
To your worship, I think that is an important piece. And that I think is how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, but we never do it that way.
Well,
We did
I
the
think
last time.
sometimes,
When we did the last charrette down at Gyro, there was,
Yeah, the public came first, yes, they did.
They came and they sort of
Yeah.
presented some ideas
And
and because there were 20 people there from various groups.
yeah, I was there.
Okay, and we looked at all of the things that people wanted, and then this group tried to sort of see how it could be managed, but
concept.
that was 10 years ago,
So
so.
the last student, I think that.
Well, yeah, because we had to sort of.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
We'll have more discussion this afternoon.
yeah, and I think the intent of the consultant is to really have an open mind, like that is what they're supposed to do. I do know, sometimes what they do is they float some ideas out there to get the discussion going. And get some feedback, and sometimes it's difficult to start this from a blank piece of paper, so I'm not sure how. It depends on which way we go this afternoon, but I know a consultant is supposed to be experienced in this field and have an understanding as to what typically people react to. And so I can't respond what the best approach is, but that's what their expertise is. So I think I can agree that we want to make sure it's an facilities made product that people are going to enjoy, and I would hope the consultants would do that.
I go different though. I don't look at a consultant on the first page, I just look at a facilitator. We've identified 4 or 5 parks in town, we invite the people, here's the parks we're all looking at through the facilitator. Throw stuff in like you like to see, and then we'll see what parks we can match to the wishes of the public. I don't think you need the consultant first if you take it to the public, just my thought. Just a facilitator working through a workshop. You've identified 4 parks, so it's Kinsman, Cottonwood, Gyro. And what do you want to see in these parks? Will they give us a list of 50 things and we know we can only put in 10 in all the 3 parks? Well, that's our top priorities. Then the consultant can work with it and come up with other ideas beside. I mean, that's how I think to see it.
But maybe you need a consultant to kind of start us off and get us all on the same page. That's what I think the consultant does first.
I think
That's
a facilitator, a good facilitator, do the same
yeah.
thing at a
Yeah.
lot less cost.
But you're quite right. This is a hot issue. And the last time we did this, the biggest thing that they wanted down there was a pier.
Here.
And then when we
So we don't-
decided that that was never going to work because of a million different issues, And we still hear about that now. Why didn't we put the pier in there? But we just
Yeah.
couldn't, it couldn't be done for that. Zach, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. You know, it's, I also participated in the shred as a youth member back in 2011 and. I think the issue of us looking at one park and specifically Jarrow Park is you're gonna have someone that's gonna pull up the map of what we talked about 10, 11 years ago. And the process was great. I believe it was 30 or 40, actually 45 service groups and organizations and community members that participated in that park. Almost everything that was asked for in that park was laid out in that park. At the time, the beach volleyball was growing, there was a replacement there. We looked at the future replacement of, hey, what does this look like if the museum wasn't there? You know, knowing that there was hopefully at the time a shorter time frame than what it actually took for it to come down, as well as, you know, what happens in the location when it's the other buildings in that property are no longer serving the need that they were built for. And as part of that, I think we got everything that we kind of wanted and then some. We kind of, you know, but at the same time, I do agree with the fact that we should be looking at every park because you know, our last 3-4 parks. And we've been fortunate, you know, with RMI funding and everything else to help build those parks out was that we've always, okay, go to the next, go to the next, go to the next. And I think there, you know, hopefully should be some, you know, kind of alignment amongst all our parks and facilities, you know, on general spaces, on, you know, general structures, and then branching out from there where those are unique opportunities that we can, you know, look into as we build those parks, because, you know, so I think the overall master park, you know, is probably our best option right now. I think, like I said, my concern with us looking at Jarrow specifically would be the fact that, you know, a consultant's gonna go out there, pull a report. Well, this is what you want last time, and you guys still want the same thing. Well, here's where it's gonna go, but, you know, we're gonna change a few little things, and I think our best value is gonna be looking at every park as a whole, or park system as a whole.
That answers that question probably until this afternoon. Okay, I'm just looking at attachment 3. And it's nice to see all of the red lines that have been drawn through, all the things that have been done. That is terrific and makes us all feel good. My one concern is, and I may have missed it because I was online at a couple of meetings last month, is the under operations, the water treatment plant. It says 2028. And I'm hoping, I know that there's some complicated issues with that, but I'm hoping that we can get that one. We do have a grant for it, which is certainly going to cover some of it. I'm hoping that we can get that one started and up and running before 2028. That's my comment on that one, and perhaps move it up to one of the priorities of the talk.
Well, your worship, I can, this is probably operations number one priority. I can assure you that meetings have already been occurring with engineers. I've been involved in one of the meetings, so they are moving. I know they've even got scheduled tours that's happening or has happened, looking at some other plans. Certainly you want to get the best ideas possible, and understand from people where they maybe would change things and what things are working well. So the process is underway, and you know, it's just, I think what we wanted to do with these timelines is to ensure that we don't undershoot them. So if we happen to get it done in, let's say 2027, great. I know the public is very anxious to have good both quality and quantity water meet their needs. We just didn't want to really dislike having to not hit timelines. That we can get it done before, that'd be great. All I can tell the council is that it is, I'd say, our number one priority internally, and we have people on it and have for the last couple months. So
Good, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Go ahead. Councilor.
Is there anything back from how the water looks at the ponds? Is that gonna be a better option? When do we get those results? So they drill the holes and then they're saying, Well, we don't know where we're gonna put it. Is that the best place? Is that the best place? I guess that's the key thing, isn't it?
It definitely plays into it, so. That data I got yesterday, because I asked about that specific issue, is we're probably still a couple months out from actually having all the detailed information ready. To solidify our application to the ministry to actually get approval on those wells and sites. Again, preliminary results, as they keep going through this process, things keep looking good. So that's the positive, as they keep working through what these experts do. It keeps looking like better, so until it's completely at the end of all this research, I don't want to commit too much, but we're probably 2 months away, and where we're at right now is better than where we thought a month or two ago, so it keeps looking very, very positive, and we will definitely, even at UBCM, making it a priority to work with the ministry that provides those applications to expedite the process as soon as possible, once we actually put in that submission.
Thank you. Good. Anything else? So, Mrs. Hilton, could you read the motion, please, that we have on the floor?
I think there is.
Yeah.
I thought there was. There was, I thought,
It was adopted.
oh, so it was already adopted, but the one about,
So it's that, it was moved by Council Chong, seconded by Council Bennett, that the committee requests that the administration bring the quarterly council strategic priority chart and infrastructure strategy to the next committee of the whole meeting for consideration.
sorry, thank you, it was already adopted, so
Was it future?
is that correct?
Talk about the commission.
Yeah, I wonder if we could just.
And flexibility.
Future.
I'd say October, because after we've done all the budget.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we have
So
a-
future, we'll put a better way to do that, would that work for the mover and seconder? That we change it to after the budget
Yeah.
meeting says that, okay, and it may not be October, then it might be November or something, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Well, could you change that motion? Do we need to defeat the first one and redo it, or no, we can just do it, okay. Thank you very much. Is there anything else that that we needed to? We okay?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else that we need to do this morning? Okay, that's good. I'm on a conference call with Minister Chang and Minister Ma in about half an hour, so I'm able to get to that one. Just an update on fires and droughts. I've been on several of them recently. Okay, so we will need somebody to. Counselor Puerto Rico is moving the termination. Counselor King, are you seconding it? All in favor? Thank you very much.